How dreadfully self-indulgent. That's 2 whole minutes of jam at the start, but, I mean, you can't stop the track mid-flow, can you? Hey folks, how you doing? Nick Jennison. It is the Monday Guitar Show. As you can tell, we are down at HQ shooting some content for you guys. Specifically, we've been doing a whole bunch of new reviews for the forthcoming edition of Guitar Interactive magazine. Don't forget, by the way, while you are here, whichever channel you happen to be watching on, whether it's the Lick Library YouTube channel or the Guitar Interactive YouTube channel, thumbs ups, subscriptions are greatly appreciated. Links down below for all the good stuff. We are, of course, still giving away free lessons. There is a course that is available to non-members for free for the rest of this month, link down below. It's Rich Shaw's 5-minute guitar fixes, very much on brand for the stuff that we're talking about on these streams in particular. But hey, I digress. Hi, it's great to have you. Welcome on board. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays, which is hang out and chat about the guitar. And today, our topic of interest is why you keep hitting the wrong notes. Now, this is, or rather why you keep missing notes or missing the right notes, hitting the wrong notes. You know where I'm going with this, right? We've all had that feeling where maybe you hear something in your head and you reach for it and it's something that's completely different. You go, well, that was not what I was expecting. Sometimes it's cool, sometimes it's less cool, but even still, you sort of go, well, even if you style it out, I wish it was the note I was actually going for. Or maybe you've got that thing where your fingers just kind of don't do what you hope they would do. You know, you send a command to the fingers and the fingers come back with something entirely different. Insubordination, let's say, but with fingers. You know what I'm talking about, right? That's our topic for today. But if you're new here, it's great to have you on. Welcome on board. We do this every Monday. We hang out, we talk about the guitar with the objective of trying to make you, dear viewer, a slightly better guitar player when you leave the stream than you were when you arrived. And we'll be getting loads of great results. I say this every week, but we are seeing lots and lots of great comments from you guys telling us that we're helping, which is something that makes me very, very happy. If you're enjoying what we're doing, don't forget to smash the buttons. Thumbs up is greatly appreciated. It helps us reach as many guitar players as we possibly can. Now, before we get stuck into why you may be hitting the wrong notes and how we can help you, there are several categories of this and several ways that we can assist. Let's say some hellos, because we got to say hello to everybody who's here. Let's begin at the very top of the shop with Timothy Appling, who's first in the house, who says, hello Nick and fellow guitarists around the world. It's great to see you, Timothy. PJ is here. Marcin is here. I'm going to turn this way so I can see what's going on. I've got my laptop over here. Says, hi guys. If you learn how to play wrong notes on purpose, you suddenly play jazz fusion. Well, the answer is just to play all of the notes. That's the thing. If you play them all, they can't all be wrong, surely. Here's one from PJ. I'm going to start this up. Says, how do I get better, more fluid at changing position? I know we mentioned Guthrie's ballerina approach, but I'm still arriving at, quite appropriately, the wrong notes. Well, we are going to address that. There might be some mechanical factors that could be at play. I will try my best to address that in the Q&A section. So we're doing some Q&As later. We will get to all of that. We got some love for the jazz fusion. Sacred Godslayer's here, great to see you. Says, discovery of the week. Tune your guitar low with the 6th string in the B or C realm without changing string gauge. I'm interested to see where you're going with this. What happens is the strings lose loads of tension. And if you don't have a very, very light touch, the notes go sharp really, really easily. That is a great suggestion. I really like that. Now, I've actually done this a little bit, not the same thing. That's a very cool idea. I've done something similar with my own practice where I would tune the whole guitar up or the whole guitar down just for the sake of variation. So if I was practicing, I would maybe spend, well, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes with the guitar tuned to like F sharp standard. So it's like 2 semitones up. It's about the equivalent of a whole string gauge, so from 10s to 11s, for example. And then when you take it down, things feel, I'm not going to say they feel great, because usually there's an adjustment period, but they feel different. But that's really cool. I really like that idea a lot, right? He says, I thought I had a light touch, but it was incredibly revealing. Very interesting. I am super interested in that, right? That is a very cool approach. I will be taking some note of that. We like that very, very much. Deadman Doogie Van Dugerson is in the house. Good advice. I know I have for a problem I know I have, I enjoy tuning to C sharp. Good tuning, nothing wrong with C sharp. We like a bit of that. Larry Warren is here. Dreams is here. Kim is here and here. It's great to see you. Great to see you. We were just chatting off camera about the backing track in question, which will be available on Lick Library very soon. Helmet Strap is in the house. The wrong notes, never worried, Les Dawson. That is true. Maybe I should have entitled this like how to be more Les Paul and less Les Dawson, but you know, hey, one of those. Next time. Franz is in the house. Great to see you. Cranky Tom is tuning in. Lovely to have you on board. Got a lot of love for Sacred God Slayer's practice technique. Big fan of that. Response Audio is here. Lovely to have you. Johnny Ninefingers is here. Mike Seedorf is here. Hope everything is okay in your world, man. We're thinking about you. We're rooting for you. PJ says, Helmet Strap, what a legend. For sure. 100%. Mark McNish is in the house. Prepared for another excellent Monday live stream with Guitar Guru Extraordinaire Nick. That's very kind of you, man. You are too kind. Thank you very much. Four Cornish is here. Make sure don't miss anybody. I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Still got a bit of a lingering cough. Stacey Douglas says, well, this looks like a nice setup. It is quite nice, isn't it? Let's be honest. It's quite nice, you know. Maybe somebody handsome and intelligent consulted on the lighting. Maybe that was me. I don't know. Little Abner's Clubhouse is here. Ergo Hog is in the house. Here we've got Binary Surface here. Timothy Appling says, with a question, do you practice that scale run up the neck? Oh, did any of you practice that scale run up the neck Nick showed us at the end of last lesson? I played it many a time, but it's been a while before I get close to speed. Don't you worry about the speed. The speed will come, but if you have the notes, it'll happen, right? Once the pattern is in there, it'll click faster than you think. These things don't go like this. In terms of speed, they sort of go like this, and then they go up, and then you're there. Nick Harrison is in, great to see you. Rory Callan's here. Mal Riley is here. KOF Guitars is in the house. Guitars and Gear Outlet, great to have you. Tony's tuning in, lovely to see you. Raphael I'll still get to the bottom of this one day, is here. RF is here, lovely to see you. Who else do we have? I think we've got everyone. If I've missed anyone, I apologize, but we're going to get into the thing, because I could spend all day chatting to you guys, and I will continue to do so, but we've got lots to get through. So let's talk about why you may be hitting the wrong notes. And we're going to break this down into several subcategories, right? The first of which is your fingers aren't doing what you want them to do. So essentially we can boil this down to either a musical problem or a technical problem. And the musical problem can be maybe a visualization issue or an audiation issue, your ability to see or hear the notes that you want to play, or it can be that you do know what you want to play, but the fingers just won't quite go there. And we're going to start with that. This is a good place to begin. So, oftentimes, when our fingers just won't do the thing that we want them to do, it can be down to a lack of preparation. You haven't prepared the fingers to do a specific move. And this is more common than you'd think. We're going to try some stuff together, right? And I'm going to see if I can throw some curveballs your way and see if I can upset everyone's fingers. We've got a clean tone for this. We'll go to the close-ups. So let's begin with some fairly easy moves, things that everyone should be able to do. We're going to begin by playing some notes between fingers 1 and 2. And that shouldn't be a problem, right? We're going to play on fret 5 and 6, on the A string, we'll play 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. If you haven't got your guitars, go grab them. You're going to need them. That should be easy enough, okay? Let's try playing between fingers 1 and 3. Piece of cake. We'll play 5 and 7. You can pick them. You can do legato, whatever you want. I'm going to pick them for now. Trying to do that light touch. What about 1 and 4? This should also be quite easy. Nothing to it. Piece of cake, right? Dead easy. Dead easy. Okay, fingers 3 and 4. Let's go. 3, 4, 3, 4. Has anyone encountered any difficulty yet is the question. Let me know in the comments if this becomes difficult at any point. It probably shouldn't just yet, but you never know. Everyone's at different levels here, so we're not going to take anything for granted. Let's try 2, 3. 2, 3. It's all fairly standard stuff up until now, right? All fairly standard stuff. I'm going to throw some more curveballs your way. The only one we haven't done is 2 and 4, so let's do that one. 2, 4. Everyone okay with all of these? Anybody finding any of them a little more challenging than you might expect? Okay, Good. Hopefully we've got that because we're going to change things up a little bit. Let's try doing some 4-finger combinations. Let's try playing fingers 1, 2, 3, 4. That should be easy enough, right? Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4. And we'll try again. Easy enough, yeah? Nothing to it. We're going to change things up a little bit in that we're going to take one of the fingers and bump it to the front of the cue. What I mean by this is instead of playing 1, 2, 3, 4, we'll still play in that order, but this time we're going to bump finger 2 to the front of the cue. So it's going to be 2, 1, 3, 4. You get the gist? It's almost like 2 is just jumped ahead and it's going before finger 1. So we have 2, 1, 3, 4. Let's try playing that repeated. Still okay? It's going to get harder, by the way. If you're going, oh, this is still fine, then we're all right. Okay, let's jump finger 3 to the front of the cue. 3, 1, 2, 4. Shouldn't be too much of a problem. Finger 4 to the front of the cue. It's just the same thing again. Now, let's change this up. But first of all, let me know in the comments if you guys have got this down pat, right? If it's working for you, that's cool, right? What we're going to do to make this a little bit more challenging is the finger that's at the front of the cue is now going to move to a different string. So we're going to move finger 1 to the D string. That's back at the front of the cue. We go 1, 2, 3, 4. But now finger 1 is on the D string. All our other fingers are on the A string. Any difficulty? Feel okay? Should do. All right, let's bump finger 2 to the front of the cue. Let's do 2, 1, 3, 4. But this time finger 2 is on the D string. Finger 1, 3, and 4 are on the A string. We're going to go like this. Bump finger 3 to the front of the cue. 3, 1, 2, 4. Hopefully we're okay. Finger 4 to the front of the cue. Now, here's the question. Did anyone struggle with any of those variations? You would be surprised. Let's go to the main cam so I can see everyone. I can still see everyone, so I can see myself and everyone can see me. But in my mind, I was thinking I could see everyone, even though I can see you all right here. So anyway, did anyone struggle with any of these, or did everybody get them just fine? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear from you, because I'm hinting at a bigger thing here, right? A bigger thing. If we want to be able to play basically anything on the guitar, we need to have prepared our fingers to perform basically any permutation of fingers on any permutation of strings. The last one is difficult for me, says Franz. We've got a few comments, a lot of people saying it's pretty okay. That's good, I'm pleased about that. Again, we've got some harder things to come. But if you find that you're maybe playing some stuff and the finger just doesn't quite know where to go, or it doesn't quite respond the way you thought it was going to, it could be that you haven't prepared that finger adequately to perform the particular move that you were expecting of it. So let's talk about some ways that we can do this. And I'm going to shamelessly rip off my friend Nick Harrison for this. So Nick's in the comments. Everybody say hi, Nick. I'm going to give a big shout out to Nick's project, the Creative Guitar Performance Workshop, because that's where I got this stuff from, right? So I had been playing with these variations before, or similar variations, stole quite a lot of them from Guthrie Govan, as I am wont to do. Stole lots of things from Guthrie Govan, including apparently his chair, but, you know, it's neither here nor there. The enormity of that never escapes me, but even still. This crystallization of this idea is something that Nick presented to me and is fantastic. And I'm going to give it to you in a slightly different way today, because I don't want to just completely plagiarize his work, but it's similar. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about some string crosses and some string cross combinations. Let's begin by crossing fingers 1 and 2 from string to string. We're going to begin with finger 1 and 2 going from the A string to the D string, and we'll play as follows. We'll play finger 1, finger 2, And then on the D string, finger 1, finger 2. Now you'll find this is part of the CGPW framework, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Go get it. Nick can put a link in the comments, he'll tell you where to find the stuff. So we go like this. 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'm going to present you a challenge with this because this should feel pretty okay, right? But can we walk this across all of our strings? Can we do A string to D string, A string to G string, A string to B string, A string to E string, and so on? Can we go like this? Can I go like this? How does that feel? Does that feel okay? It's gonna get harder because we've other fingers to do this with. We're gonna do it with every little pair of fingers. So our next pair will be fingers 1 and 3. We'll play like this. 1, 3, 1, 3. Did you catch the clunk there? I certainly did. Oops. What about fingers 1 and 4? What about fingers 3 and 4? This is going to be a challenge. What about fingers 2 and 4? Oops. Started a bit fast there. Really challenging. What about fingers 2 and 3? We've missed those. Yikes! Right? Really challenging. Now, I'm doing this not to say, hey, look, aren't my fingers fantastic and I can do all these crazy things and you might not be able to. That's not the point, right? The point with this is to show you, I guess, the level of preparation that we should expect from our fingers if we are to expect them to be able to do basically anything we ask of them in the heat of battle. Now, this doesn't take a great deal of time every day, right? As part of your regular practice, you need only do a few minutes of this, right? And it will very quickly start to crystallize. And all we're really doing is we're exposing our fingers to every combination of movements they're likely to encounter in everyday playing. So for example, if you're playing, let's say, the Eric Johnson pentatonic lick, right? So let's say we're going to play an A minor pentatonic, and we were playing this. And you were always fluffing this movement. Pick's fluffing me there, but that's neither here nor there. If that becomes a problem, it would indicate that there's an issue transitioning from this finger to this finger. It's perhaps not as prepared as it could be. Now, you could do the same thing with, say, first finger transitions or whatever, but if your fingers are used to doing this little string cross, then that's not going to be any problem for us. Same with this. That's not going to be a problem if your fingers are used to doing that movement. Same is true if we try to transition this into this. And on and on and on. Now, this is all a question of technical preparation. So ask yourself this: if the reason you're hitting the wrong notes is because the finger doesn't do what you tell it to, it could be because of a lack of preparation, but it could be because of something else. There are lots of other things this could be. Another thing that could be causing the finger not going where you want it to is that your instructions aren't clear enough. Now, this is more of a mental problem, but I want to ask you this, right? And this is more of a question that requires a bit of introspection is, do you ever play with your ears closed, right? This is a strange thing to say, it's a weird thing to say, but it's a little bit like the idea of playing with your eyes closed, or doing something with your eyes closed. Let's say, for example, Kim is leaving the building. Everybody say goodbye to Kim. See you later, everyone. Kim's waving goodbye. He's off to do important Kim things. Yeah, do you ever, it's the equivalent of doing something with your eyes shut. Like, say, for example, you are, I don't know, maybe you're on a roller coaster or something, and you're a bit afraid of one of the bends or one of the turns, and you go like this, and you go, ooh, am I going to make it? One of those sort of deals, right? Or, I don't know, perhaps, you know, you're taking a jump on your bicycle when you're in your youth, you know, you're riding your bike, and you go over this big jump, and you go, We can do the same thing with our playing, where we play with our ears closed, let's say. Let me give you, I'll try to give you an example of this, right? So if I were to throw that backing track back on, it may give me something like this, where if I'm playing coherently, and I'm very clear about what I'm doing, there, that little moment there, where it was a little disconnected, if I focus on that, and I'm very clear about the mental image of what I'm trying to do, it's much cleaner and clearer. Than if I don't pay adequate attention to it. Now, this feels like a, well, yes, duh, you should be paying attention. It's a little deeper than that. What it is more a question of being very clear about what it is that you actually want the fingers to do. If you're giving them vague instructions mentally, if you are vaguely imagining the places you'd like the fingers to go to, you can expect vague results, let's say. It's, you know, it's kind of a bit of a platitude, but you get the gist. So how might we fix that? Well, let's set ourselves a challenging finger combination, right? We're going to play something that is a little bit difficult, and it may not be for some of you guys, but it may be for some of you other guys, and we'll just not set a tempo constraint on it, and we'll try and like regulate this via tempo. So let's say, for example, we'll go to the close-ups. So let's say, for example, we have this. We're going to be playing a B minor for this. So there's our B minor pentatonic scale. We're going to outline essentially a G Lydian pentatonic. Don't worry too much about that, but it'll be giving us the notes of B Aeolian. And the way we'll play this is we're going to play finger 1 and 2 on 7 and 8 on the B string, and then 1, 3, and 4 on 7, 9, and 10 on the high E string, which will give us this. Now, this is something that may or may not cause issues, but the combination of this finger here and this finger here playing off against each other can be a challenge. So we're going to take this at whatever speed that you can play it at, and just have a go. We're going to play again 7, 8, 7, 9, 10. Getting a little clunky myself, but that's fine. That's the whole point, right? I'm missing things here. We have got some other things to talk about here. This is just the technical stuff. We'll get to the musical stuff in a second, but if I throw this track on, and without clear instruction, I play this. Did he catch that slip? Already, the third finger just wanted to carry on over here. It became that. That's not what we want. So you may play slower, it may be this. The pace is immaterial. Whatever pace is challenging for you, whether you're a shredhead or whether this is still a little new, you may play slower again. It doesn't really matter. The pace is not important, right? The pace is not important here. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to take a second, and rather than just sitting and playing this, we're now going to pay attention to what it feels like to play this lick, the very specific feelings and the specific shapes. When does this finger hand off to this finger? Imagine it really vividly in your mind, right? Imagine very clearly what it would feel like to play this lick, and not just as a blur. Think about the very specific feelings of when each finger strikes the string, when each finger moves to where it's supposed to go, and give yourself a really clear mental image of what this lick is going to feel like when you play it. Visualize it as strongly as you can. Pay attention to the cues that we've talked about in the past, like the feeling of the finger on the tip of the string, right? Sorry, the feeling of the tip of the finger on the string, the bone of the finger on the string. And let's go back to this and see if it's easier to play with a very clear, very strong mental image of what it is that we're trying to play. Let's throw the track back on. So we might get this now. Fluffed it already. I did all that big speech and then made a mess because I was reading the comments. Okay, really concentrating. Okay, hopefully this is clicking for you now. If it's slower, don't worry. Whatever the pace is, it's fine. Whatever the pace is, okay. What I want you to do now is very quickly open the chat. If you haven't done so already, open the chat on YouTube. Try and read the last 5 comments in the chat while we play this. We're going to go. Whew. Okay. Did it work? That's the question, right? Did it work? Did the lick happen? Or did the lick fall apart in your mind, right? I'll stop this track now, right? Did it fall apart when you started reading things? If so, that could be hinting at not a lack of technical preparation, but a lack of clear visualization and audiation. What this means is that you don't have a very clear mental image of what the lick you're about to play or the line you're about to play is supposed to feel like and what it's supposed to look like. Now, this happens all too often for me in clusters of notes that I'm just used to playing, right? If I'm used to playing a specific, say, fingering shape or a particular sequence or a particular lick, I'll just imagine it as just kind of like a vague, almost like a cloudy, oh, it's a bit like that kind of thing. It's a bit like that. It sort of goes a little bit like this. It takes me getting that clear mental image of how things are supposed to feel to really make this stuff work. So those are 2 potential possibilities for why your fingers might not be going where you want them to go. But that's not the same thing as hitting the wrong notes, right? That might be that your fingers are rebelling and you're asking them to do one thing and they're doing something else, right? That's one thing. The second thing that might be contributing to why you're playing the wrong notes, is maybe that your fingers are doing what you ask them to, but what you're asking them to do is not what you necessarily expect. I'm going to quickly say hello to Tremblin' Trev here. Tremblin' Trev, it's great to see you. Sorry we're going a little fast earlier, and I do apologize. He says, are you picking every note, or is there a hammer-on and pull-offs in there? It depends. I feel like to be a complete player, you should probably be able to do both. I'm doing... What am I doing? Let's figure that out. Yeah, I'm picking everything there. I'm trying to, at least. Now, I did have a little stumble there where I went back to this string and it became a little bit kind of, a bit quieter by comparison. Ah. Mark Brim is in the house. Mark Brim, if you like the way my studio looks, not this studio, like the way my studio looks, we can thank Mark, because Mark did me a great deal on camera. Hi Mark, great to see you. I'll be pestering you again soon, because I've got a full frame on the mind, but maybe not. Maybe I need to gather some money first. Anyway, so yes, so for me, I need that clear mental image, but we could do it with hammer-ons for sure. Mal Riley says proper alternate picking helps. Absolutely. So, I mean, with this stuff, we assume, there is a big assumption here that I probably should have led with, which is that we assume the things that you're playing are within your technical capability. It's something that you should be able to do, but it's not quite working. If it's just something where you go, I'm trying to play something that's physically impossible, I will never play this. First of all, believe in yourself, I believe in you. But secondly, you go, well, okay, maybe you're missing because you're not ready for it yet. That's kind of not what we're talking about today. That's a very obvious question. Yeah, you need to just spend more time practicing. But anyway, I digress, because we're moving on to something else. And this something else in question is what happens when you, you feel like you're reaching for something and maybe what you get is not it. So let's boil that down. The first thing we're going to talk about is improvisation. Let's say you're improvising and you go, I want to go somewhere, I think this would sound cool, and what comes out is not cool. Let me give you an example, or I'll try and confect you an example, because it's very hard to actually do this stuff artificially, but we'll throw the same track on. I'm going to try and reach for something that I think would be a cool lick, or a cool note rather, and what might come out might be a disaster. It will be a disaster if I do it right. If it sounds cool, then ironically I've hit the wrong note, because I'm trying to demonstrate what it's like when something bad happens. Anyway, I might get this. Oh, yikes. Ugh, what was that? Yuck. Grim, do not like. Now, for anybody who's tuning in going, this guy can't play the guitar, well, hey, who am I to say? But, that bit was at least on purpose. So, anyway, hopefully that's familiar to you guys, right? We've all done that where, maybe you just kind of, you think something's going to be cool, you go, oh, there's a note up there I'm going to go for, and maybe it just doesn't it doesn't click. Doesn't come out. Sorry, I'm just going to quickly retune, because if you're not in tune, all the notes are the wrong note. Anyway, so, yeah, let's talk about how we might get around this. The first thing with this is, do you actually know what pitch that you're trying to go for? Could you tell me what it is if I were to ask you? So, for example, if I was to take that first line where I was reaching for something up high, and we got this little disaster up there. Block 18's asking about the backing track. The backing track will be available on Lick Library soon. We'll be uploading a whole batch of new tracks that I've made quite recently. It's a fun track though, right? I like this one. I'm quite proud of it. I'm proud of all the tracks, but I'm particularly proud of this one. Now, right up there, what I was hearing is I was reaching for this thing. I thought, let's go up really high. There's a note up there I'm hearing, and I want a high note. But I didn't really know what the high note I was going for was in this hypothetical scenario. I'm going, just something high, right? If you can't tell me the note that you're reaching for, we can't expect to accurately reach it. We can't expect to land somewhere if we don't know where it is that we're going. So this starts with, I guess, a more deliberate approach to your note selection. And I would probably argue that if you can't pick out a given note within a phrase as you're about to play it, then you may be phrasing faster than you're thinking, which can be a problem. Now, Guthrie's talked about this. We're going to steal stuff from Guthrie now, because we're stealing stuff from everybody. And if you steal from enough people, it's research. So anyway, I digress again. Guthrie's talked about this, he said, there's no point playing faster than you can think. And what he means by this is, if you're reaching for notes faster than you can imagine them and name them, then we've got a problem. Now, by name them, I don't mean go, it's B. It could be, that note is on 17. It could be, that note is on dot 3 up the octave. It could be, that note is the tonic. It could be, that note is, I don't know, you name it. As long as you've got some concept of where a particular note is, when you're reaching for it, you've a much better chance of actually landing there. So it sounds like an obvious choice, right? But what we're going to do is, we're going to do this little task once again. We're going to play a following lick, and I'm going to set you the task of, at the end, just go for something up high, but don't look, just leap and see what happens, right? So we're going to go like this. The lick will be as follows. We'll keep it quite simple. We'll play up the B minor pentatonic starting from 7. We'll go 7, 9, 7, 9, 7, 10, 7, 10, high note, right? And we'll go like this. equivalent of that note, but I won't tell you what it is. You might have worked it out. If you've got eagle ears and eagle eyes, then this won't be you, right? But let's see what we get. We're going to go whoop, and we'll see what we get to. Okay, I'll go first. There's the disaster note, right? That's what we're shooting for. That's the note we don't want. You take a turn. Here we go. Ba 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 ba. What was it? We'll do it again. But this time what I'll do is I'll just tell you the note. The note's going to be this one. Can you hear it? That's the pitch in question. I'm deliberately playing it somewhere you can't see it because we want it to be hard. We'll make this easier as we go, right? That's the pitch. Let's go. Reach. Let's do it again. We're going to go. Reach. Did we get it? Okay. Let's make this simpler for ourselves. The note is going to be fret number 17, high A notes. Now that we know it's there, spend some time looking at that A, spend some time thinking about that A, and let's reach for it. We'll go like this. Did you get it? Let's try one more time. Let's go. Let's do the same thing, but this time what we're going to do, I'm going to stop the track very quickly, but we can stay on these cameras, is we're going to do the same thing again, but this time I want you to choose the note that's going on the top, right? You're going to choose the note that's going on the top. It could be 12, it could be 14, it could potentially be 15 if you want, it could be 17, it could be 19, it could be 21 or 22. Any of those is fine. It's any note from the B minor, the B natural minor scale is fine. You could play B, you could play C sharp, you could play D, you could play A, you could play F sharp, G might be tricky, but you could, whatever. It might sound a bit funny, but you could, depending upon the chord. Bit of a danger tone, that one, but we'll get there. So either way, I want you to imagine what this note is. Just pick one at random, but this time what we're going to do is we're not going to choose until the very end of the lick. So we'll play this lick, and then make a decision, and see if we get there, right? Let's see what happens. And then we'll make a decision ahead of time, and we'll really have a clear image of where we're going with this. Let's try. Ready? So I'm going to play the lick, but I won't do the high notes. So make a decision at the end. Decide on your notes now. Did you get it? Let's go again. Oops. Again. Decide on the note at the end. Choose a note now. Whoop. You got it? Okay. Now, this time, choose a note and really focus on it. Imagine how it sounds. Really get a clear image of what that note is. You can play it ahead of time if it helps. I like that one. That one's a good one. Whatever you like. 17, 21, you can choose, right? We're going to play the lick again. You're going to reach for the note that you have fixated on this time. Let's go. Did you get it? I'll go again. And there we go. Now, here's the question. Here's the big question. Did that feel easier when you played it with a very deliberate idea of where it was that you were going? When you had a real clear mental image and a very clear target of, pardon me, I beg your pardon, still got this lingering cough. I'm going here. This is the note we're reaching for. I know what it's going to look like. I know what it's going to sound like. There we go, right? Did that come off easier than when you just had to decide one just on the spot as you went? If it did, then that tells me quite a lot. Let me know in the comments, though. I want to know from you guys, right? I want you to know. So here's the thing, right? If it requires this level of mental preparation, I would probably argue that it almost always does, right? It almost always requires this level of preparation to execute this stuff. The thing that changes when you get better at this is how long that preparation takes. So as you get much better at this, Nick Harrison with the workout here, I'm going to highlight this. He's right. I would do that 12 times and work through a cycle of fourths, practicing hitting every note available. That's a good way to do things. Good way to practice it. We'll get to those in a second. Practice suggestions forthcoming, right? It's a good one, though. That is a very good one, right? Style that comment up, folks. So anyway, what I would suggest is this says to me that there's maybe just a visualization issue or an audiation issue, and that the notes that we're missing are ones that we're not clearly able to create a strong mental and sonic image of, a strong visual and sonic image of. And when we get that, it's cake. You'll notice that almost none of us, I wouldn't imagine, had any trouble with this bit, which is the B minor pentatonic scale. Why? Because we already have very clear physical and sonic images of what that is going to be like. It's this mystery note where we're reaching for something and we don't quite know where it is, right? We don't quite know where it is. This comes back to that thing I was talking about before, which is playing with your ears closed, right? Playing with the equivalent of doing this. Like, I don't want to look. I don't want to listen in case it goes wrong. Well, that's a surefire recipe for things to go wrong, let me tell you. Here's a good one from our friend Dreams. He says, for me, it's easier to first imagine it. If I try to improvise, I tend to stick to familiar patterns. Yeah, I'm totally with you, right? Absolutely with you. Now, this expands the more you explore in your improvisation, but everything that you play within your improvisation has to be something that you can reach both mentally and physically. For you to be able to actually use those tools, that's something that you need to have down pat. Now, how do you practice this stuff? Well, as we've rightly pointed out, you can systematize it the way Nick Harrison is suggesting, where you go through in the cycle of fourths, hitting every possible note imaginable. That's a very good and very methodical way to do this. I would probably suggest for a lot of players, another approach would be simply to get good at visualizing this stuff quickly. Make a conscious effort when you're reaching for things to go, I'm going to create a huge, big mental picture of this. Now, this happens in a split second, right? It happens almost instantly. And you guys will have seen, because when I'm doing these streams, often I'm distracted because I'm not distracted, but I'm distracted because I'm reading comments and managing cameras. And there are lots of times when I'm playing and something just goes a bit wrong. Like something just kind of goes a bit awry. I'll hit a terrible note or I'll totally fluff a phrase. I don't mind doing that, right? We live in a universe of fake guitar. I don't have a problem with being the not fake guitar guy, or one of the not fake guitar guys, or whatever, right? I don't mind doing that. You guys can hear my mistakes. It's no problem, right? We all make mistakes. Here's a good one from Timothy Appling, though, where he goes, if you miss the landing, just bend it to fit. That is true, right? And I do that all the time. Here's one from Mal Riley. He says, on that last exercise, I had to know where the B minor pentatonic notes were on the upper neck and find the right note as a higher note just in this higher octave. Sure, right? So in that case, that in this particular instance would be maybe a bit of a knowledge gap where you go, all right, so I actually don't know where those notes are. And that can be it can be a few things, right? But I guess to try and crystallize this a bit better, or try and sum it up a little bit better, you need a physical place where the notes are going to go. You need a physical place where the notes are going to live. But you also need a physical image. You also need a sonic image. So if you have the sound of the note in your head, but you don't know where to find it, it's no good, right? Because how can you expect to play it if you don't know where it is? You've got a 1 in 12 chance of getting it, not odds that I'm particularly in favor of. But similarly, if you have a physical image of where the pentatonic scale notes are, or the minor scale notes are, you know where they are, but you don't know what they sound like. You don't know what each one, you don't know what each one sounds like. You wouldn't be able to go, the note I am looking for is this one, out of my minor pentatonic, let's say. Then equally, you haven't got a great chance of hitting that. You've maybe got a 1 in 7 chance because you know which notes are in the scale, but we're just kind of picking one at random. How do we develop this? Well, we explore, right? We explore and we explore and we get used to the sound of notes through play. We play, we improvise, we pay attention to the notes that we're playing, we learn what they look like, we learn what they sound like. It just comes from doing. But it comes from doing in a very specific way. We do with deliberateness and with conscientiousness. We pay attention to what it is that we're playing. We really inhabit the notes. We really mean what we're playing. We listen intently, and we assess, and we make predictions about what things are going to sound like, and we try and match those. It's all stuff that we talked about over the last few weeks. These things all kind of lead into each other. So, folks, we're going to take some questions, because I'm sure you have some, and there are some that I promised I would get to. So if you have questions, we've got plenty of time to get through them. I haven't been leaving enough time for the Q&As lately, so we're going to leave enough time today. Right? Get your questions down in the comments. If you have them, I'd love to hear from you. I'll try and get through as many as I possibly can. Yes, we'll take some questions. We're going to begin with this one here. This is from our friend PJ, who says, regarding changing positions, right? We have Guthrie's ballerina method, but I'm still arriving at, quite appropriately, the wrong notes. So we're talking about sliding and transitioning, let's say. So transitioning from one position to another with slides, or even with a jump. So I have often kind of asked myself a similar question about sports people. So for example, I was baffled for the longest time on how basketball players could shoot accurate free throws, or accurate three-pointers. Free throws weren't so much of a mystery, because you go, well, you just practice that, and you learn what it feels like to move the ball that far, right? But how do you do, like, three-pointers? Because three-pointers can be from all sorts of places, and all sorts of angles, and all sorts of distances from the hoop. Now, I'm a terrible basketball player, just throwing it out there, right? I absolutely suck, right? But I was quite tall when I was a kid. Still reasonably tall, but, like, I was, like, I'm, like, a little over 6'2" now, and I was about 6'2" when I was 12. So, you know, drafted into the basketball team because I was tall, but I was rubbish. But I couldn't quite make sense of how players would get that hoop in every time. And what it is it's having a strong sense of how far you want the ball to go. Where do you want the ball to end up, right? And the stronger the sense of where the ball goes, the easier it is to make those calculations and to trust in the body to make those calculations to actually get the ball from hand to hoop. And so it goes with shifting positions. One of the most important aspects of this is to have a very clear image of where you're going and what it would look like and feel like to get there. Now, I think this is kind of a bit, you know, maybe a bit namby-pamby, but we'll get there. So let's say, for example, we were going to do a transition from, let's take a pentatonic scale. Let's take this part of the pentatonic scale, which in this case will be, again, B minor pentatonic. We'll play 7-5, 7-5 on the E string, B string. And then, because I was playing a Steve Vai product earlier on, we'll do a Steve Vai-esque transition way up the B string to the same octave, the same notes, but up the octave. We'll go like this. And we'll just play it. We're not going to really visualize it. We'll just play it and see what happens, right? So let's go like this. We'll play... Now, let me know how that's working, because we're going to take another look at this, right? And this time what I'm going to do is, as I'm playing this, I'm going to play this lick down here, but I'm going to be focusing my attention. What's it going to look like and feel like when my hand gets up there? What's my hand going to be doing? Is it going to be sliding like this sideways? Well, it's not. It's going to be like a big conveyor belt. And the whole hand is just going to move, because I don't want my hand to end up like this when I get up here. I want it to be in the same sort of position that it's in down here. So what does that involve? Well, that involves me doing this and not doing this, or doing this, or doing this, for example. I don't know, all the ways that we could slide. And we're going to focus our attention on that feeling of same hand position, arm just takes us to where we're going to go. And let's see how that feels in comparison. Same lick, we'll go like this. We'll go... Missed it. I was reading the comments. That becomes my excuse anytime I make a mistake now, by the way. Did you get it? Did it make more sense? Did it feel easier? Again, I feel like I'm a stuck record on this, but having that super clear visual image of where it is that you're going can be huge for this. But there is another component to it too, which is the technical component, right? Satan Godslayer says his hand stopped because he hit the guitar's body. Familiar with that? Sometimes the guitar just gets in the way, right? One of those. We've got some more great comments. We'll get onto that in a second. More questions coming, right? I will get through as many of those as I possibly can. If you do have questions, by the way, drop them down below. We'd love to hear from you. So that is one of the aspects of this. But there may also be something technical that is preventing you from reaching your goal with this sliding thing. And let's get into what that might be. So I want to go back to the three-pointer analogy, right? You're a basketball player, you shoot a great three-pointer, right? But there are things that get in the way. Perhaps the ball is slippery. So the force that you put into the ball is not accurately translated into travel through the air. Or maybe there's a strong wind coming towards you and you shoot, but the wind stops the ball short of the hoop, or in the opposite direction. Who knows? There are all sorts of things that, for all that you're trying to do the right thing, trying to put in the right input, the output goes wrong. And there are lots of ways we can get that happening with slides and transitions on the guitar. One of the first ones is friction, right? So anybody who's played in a hot climate with a finished neck will know that these necks can get pretty slippy pretty quick. Now, I'm not going to suggest that you get out the sandpaper just yet, but friction can be created by the material the guitar is made of, but it can also be created with our bodies. It can be created by applying a little bit too much thumb pressure. Do this for me, everybody, real quick. Just take your thumb, just rest it on the top of the guitar's neck on the 5th fret, and then slide it with the gentlest of touches up as high as it'll go until you reach the guitar. And let's just see what it feels like, the gentlest of touches. Really gentle, like you're trying not to leave a fingerprint on there, or you're trying to wipe some dust off the guitar. Now, let's really press, oh Lord, and see what happens, right? That's not much fun. That's really not much fun. Let's try doing the same thing again with a light touch. Easy. Really friggin' squeeze. Now, this is a little like driving with the brakes on. We've talked about that before. You're driving along and putting the brakes on to bring yourself to the right speed. But the issue with this is we tend to do this when we're uncertain. The body, when it doesn't quite know what it's supposed to do, if you go, hey, look, do this thing, and it's like, I don't know what to do, we even make the noise, we make the sound. The uncertainty sound, right, is the same as the squeeze everything sound. And we do this with our thumb, and we do this with our fingers. We start to grip to stabilize ourselves when we don't have a clear, confident picture of where we're going. So it could be that that's happening. It could be that there's maybe just a bit too much squeeze or anything like that. Maybe the upper arm is tense, maybe the back is tense. Something is squeezing or putting the brakes on to stop you from getting where you're going. That might make sense. Hopefully that solved the problem, my man, because we went deep on that, but I think we're in there. So, okay, we've got some more questions. Going to quickly scroll through, take as many as I possibly can. Here's a great one from KOF Guitars, right? We'll get to this. He says, I put a lot of efforts in music theory, starting up my journey. I came to a point, and now I am comfortable with improv, and practically zero in playing known songs. How do I fix this? Well, I can relate, right? Because that was me for a very long time, really long time. I had almost no repertoire. But I could, if you asked me to play a song, I'd be like, I don't know, I could play some scales. And I'm going to give you a glib answer, and then a less glib answer, and then a real answer, right? So the first glib answer, this is like, oh yeah, okay, whatever. But seriously, it's a good answer, is join Lick Library, because we have more song lessons than you can possibly imagine, right? And they're good song lessons. They're not just like bouncy ball tab. They're actually taught to you, and taught to you in a way that makes sense. So just for anybody who's kind of wondering, the difference here is like the difference between having a conversation with someone and having an AI voice read you something letter by letter. This is tab, right? Letter by letter, you go that note, that note, that note, that note, that note, that note. Oh, it takes forever, right? Whereas a good tutor can start to group things and have things make sense for you and communicate you ideas that form the songs that allow you to understand them more than just, okay, I read this by rote. We've all done this, right? We live in the internet age. We've all read a word and pronounced it the wrong way. We all know a mate who's, pronounced the Gibson affordable subsidiary as Epiphany or something like that, and you go, it's Epiphone, mate. We've all had that, right? One of those sort of deals. I've done several of them, and I will continue to do so. Anyway, that's a very glib answer, right? The second, less glib answer, but still quite glib, is join a band, right? Start a band, because you will have to learn repertoire, because you'll need some things to play. These are really, really glib stuff, but a good way to develop repertoire, first of all, is to identify songs that you love, right? What do you like to listen to? Who are your favorite artists? What songs would you really love to be able to play? If you go, you know what, like, if I was to start a band, and I was to get up on stage, what would I play? So, it might be, I don't know, it could be anything, right? It could be, I'd love to play Hotel California, or it could be, I'd love to play Erotomania, or I don't know, or it could be like, I'd love to play Bleed by Meshuggah, you name it. I'd love to play Giant Steps. I'd love to play Happy Birthday, who knows? Identify the songs that you really, really like, and then as an academically minded individual who's studying music, treat the songs as study, right? Take the songs apart, section by section, and practice over them and look for what it is that makes them great. What is it about this song that you really like? If there's a riff that you're really into, why do you like that riff? What is that note in that riff that really makes it cool? And what's the timing doing? Is the timing pushing? Is it pulling? Is it really on the beat? Take a look at the idea of song repertoire as an extension of your study, and then you'll not only develop some repertoire, but you'll learn some cool things about music and theory as well. So hopefully that makes sense to you. There we go. So fingers crossed that's the thing. We'll see if we've got one more good question that I can get through here. Definitely have a few. Got some cool comments, that is for sure. Excuse me, I beg your pardon. I'm going to back up here because there was at least one further up. Here's one from Binary Surf, right? So we're going to address this one because a lot of times these streams can err very much on the more advanced player, right? But we're not all just about the shredders here. So we're going to say here from Binary Surf, as a beginner, I'm far from being able to improvise, but I get the idea. You'll need to know the notes and pitches before reaching out to try and do something wild out of your mind. Absolutely, 100%, right? So the thing with this is, it's the reason I've chosen this comment in particular. Excuse me. Beg your pardon. James, just mute the mic 1 second. There we go, we're good. Thanks. Yeah, sorry, still got this tickly cough. I've been ill for weeks, and I'm healthy. I'm better now, but this cough will not freaking go away. And I've talked for like 8 hours today, and will continue to do so. But anyway, the reason I've chosen this comment in particular is this is something that seems patently obvious for people who are maybe not making these mistakes. And I say making these mistakes, that's most of us. But it seems patently obvious to most of us, to even beginner guitar players, that, hey, yes, of course you need to know where the thing is before you reach for it. Doesn't often play out that way. And I guess it is hinting at some of the zooming out that some of us need to do. Anyway, we've got one more great question coming in. I'm going to quickly highlight this one. I'll see if I can get to it very quickly. So here's one from William McCormick saying, I have small hands and find bar chords hard. Could I get away with only using the 5, 4, 3, and 2 string without the root bass note on the 6th string? I'm going to show you a little shape or a little trick with this. So first of all, here's the thing, right? If you have small hands, I wouldn't worry about that, because one of the greatest guitar players I know, I bring this poor guy up every time, Tom Quayle, right? One of the greatest guitar players you've ever seen in your entire life, very small little hands. I have quite big hands, and Tom outstretches me and definitely out-legatos me. That is for sure, because he out-legatos friggin' everyone. But here's the deal with bar chords, right? Bar chords, think of them less as something where you need to play all of the notes. Let's take this G chord, for example. where it's like you must play all of the notes, and think of them more as these are the potential notes that you could choose to form a G chord. And in actual fact, any combination of the notes from this G, E shape, be it 3 of them, 4 of them, 5 of them, these 5, or even these 5 with your thumb on the bottom, will all add up to a G. They're all fine. This is less, if you don't play all of them, it's not the chord. It's more a case of, look, this is how you can play all of the notes. Pick as many of them as you feel like you need to. Now, this can be a physical thing or it can be a musical thing. And the musical thing is interesting because it's my contention that you'll almost never play bar chords. Unless you're in some very specific circumstances. You'll need them for some classical repertoire. You'll need them for some early punk stuff where you've got to hit the maybe like Kinks material where you're going. But even then, I'm not playing the high E string, so that's fine. For the rest of your musical endeavor, if you're playing distorted stuff, power chords. If you're playing funk or soul, it'll be little small voices up here. You will almost never play the full bar chord, right? It's just one of those things where you go like, you know, they're fine. Think of them more, like I say, as a roadmap for all the notes that are available in that chord, right? All the notes that are available in that chord, rather than you must play all of these, otherwise it doesn't count. As long as it contains, we're getting the theory a little bit now, as long as it contains a root, a third, and a fifth, it's the full triad. So here are some examples of notes pulled from this bar chord shape. That's one, 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 that's one. It's not, but that is, etc. So on and so forth, right? Don't feel duty bound to play all of the notes in the bar chord. Folks, we've run out of time. Again, we've run over time, and we've run out of time. I'm going to play a little bit more. I'm going to also hit some notes that you'll see them when the distraction happens, because I'll still be reading the comments, because I like to see the comments. I come here for the hangs, not to show off, right? Although showing off, yeah, I'll be doing some of that too. Anyway, so real quick, if you haven't done so already, consider subscribing on the way out the door. Give us a thumbs up on whatever channel you happen to be watching on. It's always great to have you guys. Don't forget to join us next week, and if you haven't done so already, check out the free course available for the remainder of this month to Lick Library members and non-members alike. But if you want more stuff, go to licklibrary.com for lessons, all of the lessons, and I mean all of the lessons. Everything is in there. It's huge. Also, go to guitarinteractivemagazine.com for news, reviews, interviews, gear, all that good non-lesson guitar-related stuff, including the new issue where we have interviews with Steve Vai, Joe Satriani, Eric Johnson, the original G3 guys. It's really great. I'm going to play a little more of this backing track. Watch for the mistakes. There'll be plenty. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next week for another free lesson. Same time, same place. See you then.